following program is intended for mature audiences.
It's the music, movies, and shows you love.
As if we care.
And hate.
You ain't gonna like it none.
And love to hate.
I didn't expect that at all.
This is the Broken Remote.
And coming to you live on tape on this Wednesday, March 6th, 2024. The Broken Remote fired up with two recovering podcast hosts. I have almost fully got out of mine. I still am probably going to be coughing up a little bit more shit for another week. But meanwhile, Will is on his side, passing his diseases along to his girlfriend and his family.
Absolutely.
Yes,
As God intended. If you don't walk on the New York subway and cough on those nice, pretty railings they have there just to pass along to everyone else, because that's definitely how I got it, you're not doing your job as an American.
Do you still ride I guess you must because you live
subway?
in
Absolutely.
New York. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I used to ride the subways like a madman. Had no, no qualms, is that it? No concerns whatsoever about riding the fucking subway. I wasn't licking the handlebars, in the straps.
You did it wrong. It's where you get the best
care.
gum in the city, dude. It's where you get the best gum in the city. Right underneath those seats, they just got all waiting for you. But I will say, the New York subway, most of the time it's good.
Oh, it's fucking gross.
You still get, it's the one place in the entire city where if you're going to wear a COVID mask, and I know there's all that, whatever talking heads were talking about 3 years ago, where some masks work, some were pointless.
Sure.
I understand if you're going to wear any form of mask on the New York subway, especially on some of those rides, because there's some people, they'll get on the ride and you go, did he poop his pants? I'm pretty sure he pooped his pants.
Hey, everybody, there's a shit cloud coming.
Yeah, you
But
bet.
it's literally what follows it. It happened the other day. I left, I got off the train. I'm getting on. I have my bag with me. And all of a sudden I get on the subway. There's this one homeless guy and he just looks run down. And the moment he steps in the train, I just immediately go, oh my God, he pooped himself. Like that was verbatim what he did.
I've smelled it before.
He's walking in, and then I immediately, the next subway stop, I run to the other, to another car.
Yeah, to get off.
And you see everyone else around you during that. Oh, already paused.
No,
oh,
I said to get off, and then I said pause.
Pause, yeah.
I can't help it. I'm on the whole kick of saying pause instead of the no homo, right? Because they don't do no homo anymore.
No,
but
you can't say that. You can't say the R word. No, you're screwed every way, shape, or form.
But Cameron and Mace brought back I don't know.
Pause.
But brought the pause in.
Yeah.
And now I can't help it. Anytime I see something blatantly no homo, I just go pause. So anyway, I stopped you mid-sentence there, but continue.
But no, it was fun on the subway, even though I was literally dying of lack of air and oxygen, just because you're looking at this guy and you just watch the faces around you on the subway as they also realize what is going on. Because it's just like a woman who'll be in a nice work suit. She's worked all day. She's ready to go home.
Sure.
And she does a quick cough. She's like, oh, maybe there's just something in my nose. And then she does it again. And then the look of horror on her face when she realizes that the dude 2 feet away from her has just completely flooded his pants.
Right. It's human napalm, right? That's what it is. It singes the nose hairs.
I will say I was a train away for the rest of that ride, dude, and you could just see this guy he's just sitting down, he's appreciating the space. He's like, oh, I can really stretch out now. It's like, no kidding, dude. No kidding.
The luxuries you get around you when you have no problem shitting your pants.
When you just forego all, just human etiquette, God, it really just opens up a couple doors for you. Not subway doors, because, that's just, you leave those trapped with everyone else. But, really, A-plus job for that guy.
For sure. Everybody's just on the train, subway, doing their own thing, except for one guy.
Leroy Jenkins. Oh, the goat.
Just taking a big duty in his pants.
Just duty in his pants, dude.
I swear to God, true story. I had to go, when I went back to get my MBA, when you go to get, I think they still do it, but I don't know. Maybe it goes against some kind of code or something now. But they used to make you do health exams when you went back to school to be on campus.
They may maybe do that. I had to get like another COVID booster, like a third COVID booster or whatever, just because they were like, if you want to keep going to school here, even though half it's online now.
Of course.
Like, okay, yeah.
Now, I don't know if it still applies, but other than the COVID boosters that they may or may not make you take, they did have to have you do a TB test. Tuberculosis test. Yeah, so you had to get a TB. That's when they stick your arm with the thing, and then you got to come back in like 3 days.
What was that for?
Right, and so I went to my doctor, my general practitioner.
All we have to do is bleed you dry. That's how we find out if you have TB or not. Yeah.
Right, and so they stick you. They stick you with a little prong in your arm, and then they tell you to come back. Now, again, I don't know if they do this still anyway. Anyway, so I come back in like 4 days.
That's the equivalent of them just like they take a knife, they cut down your sternum, open up your entire chest cavity, go, see, it's this speck right here that killed him. It's like maybe it was the giant butcher knife that you use in the Australian outback when fighting kangaroos. I don't know.
Well, oddly enough that you mentioned, I wouldn't say third world country, but outside of the United States, I go back to the practitioner and my forearm is swollen, like there's a quarter-size swelling, and the doctor's like, and he pushes it. I go, ow, man. And he goes, that hurts? I go, yeah, that fucking hurts. And he goes like, that's like a positive TB test. He goes, have you been in a third world country recently, or did you go to like a safari
Were
or
you
anything?
barefoot near an ox? Yeah,
No.
what happened?
And I was like, dude, no. I'm like, I definitely have not. I said, the closest thing I've come to a third world country is riding the subways in New York City. Yeah. And so I took the X-rays which follow that, and I had quote unquote latent tuberculosis. So I guess tuberculosis comes in two forms. One is latent, where it's just dormant, sitting in your lungs, and then the other one is when you have full blown TB. Right?
I was gonna say, like, what are you gonna become, Eugene O'Neill? Just write a couple of mid plays that everyone just can't stop talking about. That is a really like dated reference to English at high honors in high school. But
but we'll give you a little golf clap for that reach. So I end up, they put you on drugs. I got to go on isoniazid, I think is what the drug was called, for like 9 months. And isoniazid like pumps through your liver, so you can't drink on it, right? Because if you drink on it, I guess you get like super wasted, or it's a danger to your liver levels. So I end up going to, it's during football season. So I am a bar watching NFL fan. So I'm going to bars and I'm ordering seltzers. All these bars that I usually pound beers at.
Yeah.
So one of them finally says, one of the waitresses, or the bartender says to my wife, she goes there separately. She goes, we are so impressed with Rich. And she's like, huh? And they're just like, like to come in an environment like this where he used to pound beer and everything as he's recovering.
They thought you came,
Yeah, as he's recovering. They're just like, that is, and she's like, oh, no.
I'm just so happy for Rich that he found Jesus and that he's even in this type of environment really finding himself. It's just such a great time.
Yeah, they're like, she's like, no, he's not sober. He just has tuberculosis. They were like, what? Like, yeah, that's this long thing.
And that's when they pulled out the the old rosary, the golden rosary, and like, get back, you demon! You don't bring your tuberculosis in here.
Fucking tuberculosis.
Yeah, I read about that in the Bible.
So, long story short, to relate it to your story, is that I know for a fact where I got it, because I was on this subway, just like your fucking story, and I was standing like toward the end of the car by the door that goes to the next car, and there was some fucking bum, and he was just cracked out, and he just smelled like garbage. And it was more than shit. It was like flesh rotting,
it is
shit
like,
in his pants, like it was just like, this guy has been riding subways in tunnels for like years on end. And it was just like, oh my God. And I remember, I'm like, look, you ride the subways all the time. Yeah, this guy is a fucking filthy pig, but don't be an asshole. Just sit here until you fucking
let him
stop.
live his life. What's going to happen? What's he going to do? Like, turn out to be, giving you tuberculosis or something crazy?
Right,
Wait
yeah.
a minute. Man.
And so I rode this stupid subway like a fucking asshole. And then sure enough, I get off. I forget, 5 stops later or whatever the hell it was, because I think I had to go all the way downtown. And then, I take this test, and I'm like, dude, I have not been in a third world country, but I know that homeless dude had to have fucking TV.
You can track it back, yeah.
And me just sitting there
aroma.
inhaling this shit from the guy. Because I think it's it's communicable, like, via breath. It's like in the open air is how you get it.
Yeah, as long as you're not contained in like an enclosed space, like some metal rocket that just goes from one bus stop to the other.
How did you get it?
Aha!
Right there.
Yeah, right there. This guy, my best friend, Dirty Pete, my favorite.
Dirty Pete.
Dirty Pete. He's just smiling. He's got 3 teeth in his mouth. I don't understand why they don't. And, you're homeless, so I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about this a little too hard because, Will, maybe the answer is right in front of you. But if I was homeless, I feel like the last city I would want to be in is New York. Like, what about Miami?
Miami has their fair share of bums, too. I mean, remember, Miami's got, 3-4 months out of the year that is hellish to live outside.
Same with New York, though. I mean, I would much rather be like, oh my God, this is swamp weather. If only I was, naked and like near a beach where I could bathe off or something versus,
Yeah, but remember, there's like no subway systems. There's no real there's no real city. It's if you go down to Miami, there are areas in Miami. I lived there like 4 years, so there was one area downtown that was just like loaded. It was like New York City. There was like 4 or 5 blocks of just bums.
I think it's going to come down to the wildlife because New York, like the worst that's going to happen is, oh, fuck, my toe was bitten off by a rat. God, again this happened. I told myself I wasn't going to let that happen, and I just see him scampering away with my favorite big toe. And then meanwhile, if you're in Florida, it's just like, what happened to Earl? Oh, well, he slept too close to the river, and the gators got him.
And the gators. It is. It's like Pitfall down in Miami. You don't going to get eaten by the gator as you're trying to hop over the creek.
Yeah, it's quite literally a game of Frogger. That's literally what it turns into. I've talked myself back into living in New York if I'm ever homeless. If I ever find myself in that situation.
I just think, though, it's just where you land, right? And I mean, far from me to be a homeless expert here, but aficionado is, I think, was where I was going. But anyway, they got bums everywhere.
I've passed by quite a few in my day.
Right. I mean, they kind of have them everywhere, right? I mean, you hear about all the homeless crisis in Seattle and California and Chicago. I mean, they usually pound on all the blue cities that have it. But they're basically everywhere. It's just the blue because it's, that's the news cycle now. They just like to pound down on that, especially, right-wing media. But
I was going to say, well, LA is also just like everyone's kind of leaving that city in droves or just like the biggest dolt you've ever met in your life.
Right, well, except for the bums, So, I mean, supposedly, bums are all over the place. And obviously, San Francisco, they got the poop map. The poop, what a map for your fucking phone.
Dude, I don't know what conservative in California came up with the idea for the poop map, but that was absolutely genius.
If you have to make it, then maybe you just shouldn't make it, right? I mean, if you think about it, like, okay, we know we have a problem. But to make an app that identifies where the human feces is on the side of the street, maybe we reached the point that
might be a problem. I'm not a whiz kid here. I'm not a genius, as they say, but I'm going to say that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, not one that we want to point the spotlight on either.
At least they're making sure they're reelecting new representatives, get that cleaned up. That if they kept the same people in for like 70 years, then that'd be a problem. But that'll change.
Politicians never stay more than 1 or 2 terms. I mean,
1 or 2 terms, then they're out of there, just like. Household names.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that?
Did you you work during the day? Do you ever listen to any kind of content, whether it be recorded or live?
My job's like so on. Like whenever I'm at my job, I can't even listen to podcasts anymore. At least in my current role, which is why I'm trying to get out, so I can go back to my the fun love life.
Sure, the coasting position.
Yeah, so everyone wants to get back to the point in their career where they're just like listening to a true crime podcast while they're faking clicking things on an Excel sheet until they can finally clock. Well, wow, what a busy day! I can't believe what happened to those guys in the Andes Mountains. And you go, wait, what? I thought you were doing the TPS reports. What did I say?
Have you got the memo about the TPS reports? I just watched that this weekend with my kids.
It's a great movie, dude.
It's fantastic. I gave it to you on your way out the door.
I watched it that night, and I was like, this is really accurate.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday. And then I'm going to need you to come in on Sunday, too.
Did you get that memo about the TPS reports?
Yeah, I got the memo. Yeah, I got the memo. Heard you've been having trouble with your TPS reports. But anyway, so today you're talking about, obviously TV and movies and radio.
As we do.
As we do. Everything minus music. So I should probably just take that out of the intro at some point. However,
one day we'll get there. Yeah.
They had today I don't know I'm trying to make up some kind of nickname for him, but I can't think of any. But so Chair Powell was up on the Hill today. I guess he does.
Oh, God help me.
Semi-annual or annual,
Talking about Bitcoin crushing it.
No, I guess he just goes up there. I probably should know it for as much as I listen, but I guess he goes up there 2 days every year or 2 days semi-annually, and he just lets this finance committee up on the Hill.
The people that know nothing, and they're just like,
grill
so you're telling
about
me that
whatever he
numbers
wants.
are going up? You tell me numbers are going up, Mr. Powell. Is that what this graph means, where the bar goes up?
Right.
Yes, that is what it means.
And everybody comes with their own agenda. And I would say maybe like 35% of the people actually have questions and conversations with him.
35 seems high. I feel like most of them there are doing a lot of those people that are on Capitol Hill are in those, they'll go on TV and grill XYZ person. They're just those theater kids that never got called on to be Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz.
Of course, I'm with you.
This is my moment to sing about tax rates, and you go, no, please stop. Lady from Hawaii.
Well, I'll tell you, it falls on both sides of the aisle. I will say that definitely those people tend to be from the Democratic Party more than the Republican Party, although, like I said, both parties have their own assholes.
The Republican ones, what they'll do is they'll just put like this is how I know I fight for America, and it'll either be like some dude with a gun, or it'll be some like relatively hot, blonde, conservative lady who's in yoga pants like, I fight for my kids. And then she like shoots a gun at a firing range, and all the good news of being in yoga pants at a firing range, ensues.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that girl actually was there today, and I had it on CNBC. I had it on Sirius, so I didn't actually have the video, so I didn't know who was doing the line of questioning. But the Republican fucking bitch today, I don't know who it was, but she wouldn't let Powell speak. So
Nice.
She would ask him a question, and if he didn't immediately answer no or yes, whichever answer she wanted, she would repeat the opposite answer, and she'd be like, oh, so your answer's no. And he's like, I didn't even answer. She's like, oh, no, I thought that you said that killing people was bad, but when I said that, you didn't respond, so I thought maybe you thought it wasn't bad. And he's like, no, I didn't say anything. And she's like, oh, well, I said killing people is bad, yes, and you didn't respond. So I figured the answer was no. And it was like, holy shit. And
if it weren't for that these people were like making ridiculous sums of money, I would like to think that they were all in their own personal, like little hell on earth. But, they're just making, 8 figures a year behind the door and things.
I guess I apologize for not knowing politics and our government well. I'm not a big fan of government, but
no.
Now, who can have terms for life? Basically, any senator?
I guess
any congressman? I mean, who has term limits?
Whoever's elected to what is it?
Is president the only person that has a term limit?
No, there's term limit. Yeah, so that I'm not sure about. Because technically, you obviously have a term limit technically in. Well,
you got to run again until you get knocked off, but you can keep running until you don't.
Which never seems to happen.
McConnell has been in there for 1,000 years, right?
About 1,000 years. Yep. This is his millennium right now. When the stars align, he will see the comet passing again, and he will fly into the stars as the space turtle he is. To rejoin with his family.
He's starting up Heaven's Gate once again to try to catch on
that
to the
would be what a twist that would be, dude. He puts on his New Balances at the very end, and he's like, now I'm going to
No, stop, sir. They were Nikes.
You're right.
And
I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure it was Nikes and a bowl of oatmeal right?
Whenever
There was
we
like a
get-
bowl of oatmeal that
they
also
had
went with
pizza.
them.
They had pizza right before they died.
And I
will
think
say
they
that.
dressed in purple. Didn't they
They
dress
were-
in purple with Nikes
They
and a
dressed
bowl
in
of oatmeal or
purple,
something?
and all of them castrated themselves except for the main dude because that's usually how it goes.
Did they castrate themselves? Is that a legit
Yes,
thing?
they did. Yes,
no
they did.
shit, really?
Yep, they castrated him except for the main guy because he was like, I was afraid it was going to hurt.
Yeah,
Which I mean,
good call.
fair.
Good
fair.
call. It's 1 ounce of intelligence in that
Yeah.
entire story.
I was like, you
The
gotta
main guy
wonder-
didn't castrate himself.
You got to wonder, like, in that cult, like, when he was just saying that a lot, like, you think the other guys, when they heard that he didn't castrate themselves, they're going, what the fuck, Eric? Jesus Christ.
You
got me all-
didn't chop your nuts off?
Yeah,
no.
what the fuck? It's like, why would I? It looked like that was going to sting. You guys were crying about it for a while because it really hurt.
And I can't think of it, but I know that that's been done in movies and sketch shows, that very same comedic punchline. And it's very funny. And I'm trying to remember what it is. But yeah, of course, the lead guy didn't do it while everybody else
No,
was
of course
like,
not.
oh,
No.
what?
Yeah. Yeah, welcome to society where they're just going, like, I can't believe he screwed us like that. Just totally. He got me all excited. I thought we were going to be pals, and all of a sudden.
Or maybe everybody didn't except for the 3 guys. And they're like, you chopped your nuts off, right? No, you were going to listen to him? It sounds like it really hurts. I wasn't going to do that. We told him we did, but...
Yeah, I imagine they had like some sort of group shower situation, and the one guy who's like, God, that was one of the most painful experiences of my life, and he turns around and he goes, Dylan, buddy, what are you... So you know it was optional? Dude, I just checked no on that
I
form.
have mine. I still have mine. But it doesn't look like, oh, yeah, well, I got really tight pants and I just pull it
Dude,
between my legs.
Dude, you didn't tuck them back? Are you stupid?
This is all Silence of the Lambs right here, buddy.
I was like, I'm all for eating poisoned applesauce, but it's poisoned applesauce. That's what they ate. I'm all
Oh,
for
it's
eating
poison applesauce? I thought it was
poison
oatmeal.
applesauce. Like the gentleman. I mean, it could have been both. Could have been two things. Maybe one of them was like, I really hate
Yeah, I
apples.
don't know. I just definitely know it was Nikes. And I think it was like a specific Nike, too, but I don't know.
You think that was a complaint? They were just like, listen, I don't want to be a bother because I know we're about to go catch the rocket ship, but like, man, I do not like apples. And like, if I have to go out, can it be something a little different? Like, I know some people are talking about,
Can I just have a
putting
steak? Like a T-bone?
Yeah, like it's something like, can I like wash this down? Eat like a beer? Maybe a beer to go with it? I don't know. I'm just like,
This is
I'm
our last
sorry,
meal,
guys.
right? Like I mean, I've seen this on movies before.
Yeah, like
before you get your lethal injection, you get your last meal. I don't want mine to be applesauce.
I don't want to be that guy, but like, come on, there's got to be something a little more flavorful. Like I know Bill over there, he's like putting a little bit of like cinnamon on top, but I just don't feel like for a last meal, guys, that's gonna cut it for me.
And then there's just a super sane guy in the corner that's just like, yeah, well, you guys are talking about that. I'm still kind of wrestling. How do we get up into the comet, though?
Yeah, there's that one dude. He's got the chart. He's trying to figure it out.
I've been reading these science books, and there's like nothing about teleportation in here anywhere. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's what our government is. Maybe it's just a big, gigantic Heaven's Gate cult that we just don't know about it. I mean, they talked about Pizzagate and all this kind of other shit, and and what they molest children, right? Child molestation is another big thing. Yeah.
Oh, dude, have you seen that? That's going on in the news now, which is sad that I said all that out loud. Yeah,
everything there, yeah, including watching the news. But I
so,
do
like,
too. I'm guilty
because of the because of all these different people nowadays claiming like, oh, I'm a person who's the victim because of XYZ reasons. So now the new group of people that's claiming to be a victim are pedophiles, and they're trying to spin it. I'm not sure if you've seen this. So instead of being a pedophile, it's give me a second. Let me look up what they're.
This is like illegal aliens becoming immigrants, becoming asylum seekers. Now they're newcomers, right?
Now, no, it's they call them. They don't call them children. They call them minor attractive persons for a man. and they have like a different name. And they have a different name for themselves as well. Like, we're not pedophiles. We're differently attracted to people. Like, duh. Like, this is on you for not knowing what this actually is.
We're old age adverse.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hey,
God, guys.
Something adverse, right?
I'm offended that you mislabeled me, if you really think about it. So, apology accepted, but let's look past this for now and move on. I'm going to that playground over there.
My sexual preference is age adverse.
Age adverse is a great one. Oh my, we should be marketers, not for them, for something.
For something. But anyway, the whole point of my whole rant there on watching CNBC and Chair Powell on the Hill today was just because at one point, I mean, everybody went off, but it was Maxine Waters, and she just
the queen.
Oh, my God. And I cannot believe this woman is still in government and that she has the ability, that they actually let her try to question fucking Jerome Powell, as much of a dunce as he is.
I have a new thing. Here's my new theory for people in Congress like Maxine Waters. Their next test, instead of, anything like, knowledge-based or driving, here's a coloring book. I want you to stay inside the lines. And if you can do that, you can continue to be in Congress. But I have a feeling we're about to, we're going to need a whole new group soon.
Yeah,
if that's implemented properly.
I don't think it'll ever happen. I mean, there's just something about government. They're never leaving until they die, right? And so, like, Feinstein died in her chair.
Which is
McConnell stroked on air 4 times before he stepped down. And he's not stepping down either.
He's taking the whole year.
He's taking the whole year.
And as we know, notoriously, when you've stroked out that many times on air, I mean, you just get better. I imagine, and I don't wish this on him, but I imagine, FBI agent who's listening, the moment he gets out of office is just going to be like a mysterious, like his Tesla just runs off the road or something like that.
Oh, yeah, he's dead quick as soon as it's all done. But, we got a president who, by, legal, disclosure, legal disclosure, the DOJ believes he's too senile to be prosecuted. I mean, the stories go on and on with everybody from government. And then if you want a fresh breath of new air, you get AOC. Like you get a converted bartender.
I was gonna say, you get like the worst person from my generation who never paid attention in class, and they go, and now because she's vaguely attractive, she's in charge. We're listening, and you go, that's not an improvement.
And she's never passed anything, which is also kind of comical, right?
She got a college degree in econ, which means she's qualified. I'm like, you mean she got high and drunk through college like the rest of us, and then just
farted then just decided she was gonna, be a politician. She was part of Bernie Sanders' camp or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
But the right has fruitcakes too. You got I don't know, the guy with the eye patch, which is supposed to make him look like an American pirate.
Yeah, he was one I liked for like a hot second there, and then the more he's opening his mouth, the more I'm just like
he's crazy too, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're just like you hope for 3 seconds, like, oh, is he one of the good ones? He was a Navy SEAL. He lost an eye fighting for America. And then, 2 years in, it's like, oh, and he's just as bad.
It's across the board, man. They call it the swamp. It really is. And we talk about it only because it's on the TV constantly. Like
it's on the TV constantly. It is people were into Succession for a hot minute there. No one cares about that. This is the real life Succession with the same soapbox star characters every week, where you're just going like, I can't believe not only did he slap his own mother, but then he slept with the maid and then had his evil twin brother come back to try to wring him out of office. I can't believe that happened in this season of American government.
Right, or you could just do something that isn't so crazy, like, and a crazy man with a hammer was attacking a senator's husband in his tighty whities, and then when the cops came, the husband said that no, everything's fine, and this guy is supposed to be here, even though the guy has a hammer, honey. Oh, that's right, that just fucking happened.
Yeah, it's like the dude in his underwear who was attacking with a hammer. Oh, you guys aren't into this? What are you, a bunch of prudes? Just totally turns it around on you.
Oh, fucking A. And that was Feinstein's husband, right?
That was Pelosi's husband.
Pelosi's husband, not Feinstein.
Yeah.
Pelosi's husband, yeah.
Which, still, what an episode.
They probably had a huge fight about stock picks, and he was just like, "Look, if you don't change your fucking picks to what I tell you, I'm gonna hit you with this hammer.
I'm gonna hit you with this hammer." And the next thing you know,
I told you, Tesla's a good buy. Okay,
God, fine. What a job! What a job!
Yeah.
We should run for. We'll win. We'll get there.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have enough juice, man. We need more dirt. We need
Dude,
to be
if I claim to have transitioned, I don't actually do it, but I claim it. I say like, depending on the position of the moon and the sun, that will affect my gender.
Do we have a transitioned government?
We have to have one, right?
I don't know.
There was that one dude who was like stealing the luggage that worked for Biden. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I know they appointed a whole bunch of transvestite, military people, right?
But they never
the head
like
of the
normal
Navy
looking.
is a girl that was a guy.
Yeah, but it's never like
Is it a
normal.
transvestite or is not the right terminology?
It's
like a gender change? Is that a transvestite or no?
I have no idea what they refer to them anymore. Everything's offensive nowadays. You call
or is it
me
just
like
a girl that used to be a guy? I don't know.
it's something. Yeah, you call someone a wiggle now. Turns out that's incredibly offensive based on some 13th century word for pirate or something like that.
Well, a tranny actually has his junk still, right?
I think so. I think so. I remember that from the joke from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's how I know Tranny still has his junk, so I think that's true.
Was that
there was a character
in Philly?
It was just they had this. I mean, it was just a hot actress in reality, but they would just make her wear like a fake ball and dick. And so like every couple episodes, like she would appear, and one of the characters had this huge crush on her, and then in reality, it's like, oh really? Like you're saying like that's wrong, and you're trying to have sex with a tranny? Really? It's like, but she's so hot. It's like, she still has a dick, Mac. What are you doing? How about you wait a little bit?
I got to give that show a whirl. I never did, and I've heard that it is a solid show. There's something about Philadelphia. It's never sat right with me. It's probably my sports affiliations.
I was going to say, they definitely don't paint the city in the best light, if that will make you watch it more. I mean, they definitely are like,
Yeah, I feel like it's more than that, though.
Yeah,
I feel like it's the people that I meet from Philadelphia. Now I know Jersey people who cheer for Philadelphia teams different than like the Philadelphia fan from Philly. I always reference the
face is
Eagles,
still covered in mustard and still crying
and
for the last year's Super Bowl. Yeah, and
horseshit. Because remember when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, there was the infamous video of the fan who leaned over and ate the horseshit from the cop horse.
What a classic!
Oh, fantastic! Just the beauty of America,
city.
And that guy's probably going to vote in the election too.
No, he's going to vote in the election. He's probably going to be comptroller of Philly in the next 2 years.
Comptroller. What is a comptroller? Another position I should know and I don't.
It's basically just an accountant. They just gave it a fancy name for some reason.
So what's the difference between a controller and a comptroller?
I have no idea. That's as far as my knowledge goes.
That's a good SAT question. Well, if they still give that test anymore.
The SAT is just like a bunch of words that you've never heard of before, and they just go, oh, you don't know what numlagoflageldilly means? You don't know what that means? You've never seen this in your average daily life, and you just go, this is... Like the math one at least makes sense. It's basic math. They just make you do really fast. The other one, you're just going, this is stupid.
Somebody at work dropped a word on me, and I'm not going to go look it up now because it'll take too much time. But, dropped an SAT word, and I had to look it up because I was like, I think I know what he means, but I'm not sure. And it just meant redundant. And I was just like, well, kudos to you for making me go and improve my SAT vocabulary. And he just laughed, and I was just like, oh, I forget what it was. But it was such a far-out word. I don't think I've ever seen it in print before. So when he wrote it in an email, I was like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, I think I know what it is. Oh, it's redundant. Okay, yeah, sure. So
I must say the brevity of this statement, I feel, quite takes me back from a civil course duty that must coincide with the commission. And I'm just reading a bunch of them off.
Do you think that we're less of a people because we write like such shit now?
You mean like Eyes Can Has Cheeseburger, where you write your with UR instead of YOUR?
No, I don't want to go that far, but I do feel that there is something about language that has been lost over the past, specifically like 15 years, but easily over the past like 30.
It is definitely a combination of, I was complaining about this the other day, where, like, back in the day, dude, you would, like, imagine having to hang out with your friends 10, 15 years ago, like, with the arduous task before, like, cell phones were around. You had to, like, organize, you had to be there at the right time and hope you run into your friend. Like, I said I was going to be there at 3, you have to be there at 3. You can't be 10 minutes late.
Yes.
You don't have a phone to tell them. Otherwise, they're just be like, well, I don't know what's happening with Phil here. I'm out.
I mean, I have spanned all the generations. I have been no cell phones, no pagers, cordless phone only, no internet. I remember all of it.
It's like, it's not a fight, but like my girlfriend's like, why can't I have your location on my phone? And I'm just going, that's weird.
That's fucked up.
That's weird. It's flipping weird.
Fucked up.
And all I do is I go to the gym and then I watch videos on my computer and I go to work. That's basically my entire schedule besides like going to bars occasionally with my friends. But it's just like,
I thought it was weird when they came out with like Foursquare. Remember Foursquare?
Crazy. Yeah, that's weird too.
Which was like the check in. Oh, I checked in here. I checked in here. I checked in here. Where are you? Check my Foursquare.
It's too linked up, dude. It's too linked up. And then like these people that should have been gone from your lives 20 years ago are still popping up on my feed. So I still know how Jake from high school is doing because, it's just like, oh, just finally bought my first used Honda. And you're just like, why am I? To be honest,
I kind of like that, but because I'm a little bit older, there's still there's a little different residual value for me. But yeah, no, I get you. Like, yeah, sure. There's something to be said about not as much privacy, but just space from the insignificant people in your lives.
Exactly.
Right?
And then there's also just like at the same time, like you need the phone to stay connected, but it's almost too connected where it's just like this artificial flavoring like for a popcorn or something. Like it's not really butter, but they're just every day they're trying to throw it down your go. Like, yeah, you're still part of it. You're still hanging out with your friends here, kind of. You're like, that is what's going on here?
Well,
don't like it.
So there was a town individual who growing up nobody wanted anything to do with, and he had his own quirks, and so he's just never left. And he was always infatuated with people's phones and phone numbers, and always used to call and been like, just don't answer it, tell him I'm not here. Then cell phones came along, text message, whatever. So I guess, my dad owns an auto body shop in the area, and I guess he wanted to know if he still owned it. And all of a sudden, my text message goes off, and it's just, hey, does your dad still have this spot in Franklin Lakes? I'm like, yeah, he does. Here's his number and address. Give him a call. And then the follow-up was like, oh, so what are you doing now? You're living in Hohokus? And I'm like, not responding. How is everything going? Silence. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
I did the extent of my response, which was, here is the address of the business that you wanted to know about that my family owns.
Let's grab a beer. I haven't seen you in a while. Let's have one conversation about it. I don't know. It's just part of it's nice, but the other part of me, it feels so relatively phony, just some of that stuff. And then just the constant influx in your face constantly that I resent heavily.
Well, I love the phone, and I love what the internet does. I'm torn as to, like right now in our existence, I think if I could get rid of the internet and keep the cell phone and text messages, I think I'd be good with that.
I would have a readjustment period, most certainly, as would the rest of the world, but I would approve because I think in the long term that might be for the better.
Or like the internet at home, but not on your phone, right? So like the internet's great. So I definitely want the internet, I think.
It's the fact I can tap in literally whenever.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, like I feel like the internet should be a home-based thing. Like you go home to use the internet. If you're out and about, make a phone call, send a text. But there's no internet on the road.
My girlfriend uses like 14 new apps that I've never heard of before in my life that are like, no, you have to use this one so you know what this, and this one to use this. And I just go, right now you feel like you're really hip and with it, and I just know for a fact the next 3 years, like something's going to happen where you miss one new app and you're going to realize how exhausted. It's like when you have those games on your phone that are like, you didn't play me today. It's the gems. You want to get the magic gems? Got to make sure you log in every single day. So
the magic gems. I played every Magic Gems game there's been.
I know. There's so many of them, dude. And those ones, and that's we could do a whole episode about the magic gems in the video game industry, dude, about that stuff. But just.
What is that?
Oh, the microtransactions.
Oh, microtransactions. Yes. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll say that for another day.
I was going to say, it's a whole other day when you talk about those guys that'll like spend. Have you seen like the margins on those just as a quick sidebar?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Dude, it's like 99% of people that play video games or something like that on their phone never spend $1. They're just like, I'm going to log in, I'll play a couple games, back to my life. But that 1%, that 1% that will drop like
A
not
material
everyone does
amount
this.
of money.
Like there's that one story in Japan or something where some guy dropped the equivalent of $60,000 on one of those games in
Well,
like a couple months.
I've heard, I haven't read, but I've heard on either podcast or that, like, I think that China, I don't think Japan, but I think China has regulations on how
Yeah,
much
they're
you
trying
can
to curb it.
play video games at any given time. Now, I don't know if they have a curb amount of money that you could spend, but I mean, they do curb the amount of time that you can spend playing. And I'm just like, shit, I'm not all for
It's one of those-
dictatorships and all that
yeah.
communist bullshit, but like, yeah, it kind of works. I mean, me and my wife, we don't have the kids can't play their devices Monday and Tuesday. Monday
Yeah.
and Tuesday, no devices. You can watch TV, you can read books, fucking do whatever
All
you
of this
want.
stuff.
No devices, no video games, no nothing. That
Yeah.
way, you like take 2 days to detach and remember what it's like.
Yeah, remember, breathe to be a human again. Yeah,
Right.
It's like you're in the pool, you actually can go above the surface just for a little bit, see that sunlight. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of stupid though, because then you realize like no other kids are doing it. So like they feel like
Yeah,
they're kind
dude.
of like on an island. They're like, well, I don't know, nobody does this, and it was like, yeah, nobody does do it, but you do. So like, just take it, value it, understand that your parents are trying to drive home, something in your brains here, and just steady as she goes.
Yeah, you don't want to tell your kids, like, I'm trying to prepare you for when the techpocalypse occurs, and we're all synced out of this. You'll be the only one that can survive for more than 48 hours.
I mean,
Because
it'll
it's
take up
clock-
another half an hour, if not an hour. But do you think the techpocalypse ever happens?
It's got it, right? I mean,
I don't
dude, look
know.
at how fast everything's moving at this point.
The
I
EMP,
can't keep
the
up.
EMP that just drops in the middle
Dude.
of war that knocks out everything.
I can't stand the AI conversation that's happening every single day.
Dude, it
The
never
amount
stops.
the amount of ads I'm getting now, like I'll go on YouTube to watch some dumb video before going to bed. It's like, I have an AI manage my entire calendar so that I don't have to think about anything. My AI just goes, this should be at 3:00 now instead of 4:00. And it'll be like, I have an AI do my taxes for me. I have an AI raise my kids for me. It's just like, it's crazy, dude.
Well,
just the levels that they're escalating to.
I will say that I tried the Chat GPT, number one, to test it just to see exactly
Oh, same here, dude.
the
Yeah.
woke
Works
programming
great.
behind it, and it is pretty funny because you could just talk it into a corner where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
give me crime statistics in these cities, and then you go like, give me demographics in these cities,
Did
and
you
then
see
all of
what
a sudden
happened?
it's just like the AI puts on brakes and just starts shuttering out like pre-canned answers, just like, well, you
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
can't make
eventually-
these relationships because there's more context to it, and it's just like, okay, all right, I'll stop doing that because I can obviously see that this is going nowhere. But to the the constructive nature of the Chat GPT, I had it writing code for me for Thinkorswim, which is a trading platform on TD Ameritrade, which just got bought out by Charles Schwab, I think. But I was like, I don't know how to code, and I guess I could learn how to. But I was like, Chat GPT, can you write me a code that'll do this, and make this on the chart? Boom, gave me the code,
Yeah.
put it in,
It is
worked to a T.
It is shockingly funny how, 4 years ago, everyone was like, oh my God, truckers were worried about losing their jobs. We're like, well, that's what you get for being a trucker, Just learn how to drive a car. I went to college. 4 years later, AI comes along, and it turns out it's way easier to do your job than it is to be a fucking trucker.
Right.
And now it's just, tables are completely turned.
Like,
And
at this
did you see
point,
that with Air Canada a week ago?
I don't know the story, so no.
Dude. So Air Canada, they have a help desk chat insert, those services where you call in for
Sure.
support, customer support. They fire all of them. Everyone's gone.
Really?
And
And they went to a
replaced it with AI.
an
just as a
AI
chat.
with a generative, audible AI.
Exactly. That's just going to chat and things. Some customer calls in, oh, my grandma died. Can I fly out? It's an expensive flight. And the AI, for some reason, just comes up with a policy that they don't have at Air Canada. for like a $1,000, like, oh, so it's a death in the family, we give you $1,000 so you can make sure you can get to your
really?
death in your family. They give it. That's what the AI comes up with. And he's like, great. He goes on this flight. He's like, well, where's my thing? They're like, we don't have a thing. He proves it because he took like a clip of the AI chat history. He had like a whole like receipt of it because he's like, hold on to this. Like a claims court in Canada just went, oh, well, I mean, if this is your customer service and they say this now because you don't bother to check or have any humans in there, you got to pay this customer his $1,000 for this. So he just won that case.
No shit.
Because they just like that made the. Now, granted,
oh yeah, look at this.
In America,
Air Canada chatbot lied to a passenger about bereavement discounts.
not lied, made up.
Yeah. I mean, go figure. Well, I mean, all these things are going to happen, right? I mean, and it sounds like behind closed doors that there's been really, really egregious errors with these AIs in like test environments.
Or like that lawyer story that we talked about on here at one point.
Which was
the lawyer he wrote some great paper, and all these other lawyers went, wow, this is an amazing like thing that you cited and all these different histories. Then it turned out the AI made up the entire thing because he wrote it through ChatGPT. Like all the cases that he was claiming that he was like sourcing.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Filing. Yeah, just like everything he had in this AI was all just made up out of thin air, and the lawyer got disbarred for it because he sent in this brief or something like that.
Well, another rabbit hole you can easily go down to and tear down the educational and legal, and you could just go after a whole shitload of well-known or well-established professionals would be if you were to do just ChatGPT of any dissertation or is dissertation the right word, or whatever you got to do to get your PhD. What are the what's the paper that they all got to write? Doctorate,
thesis, doctorate,
doctorates. And if you were to just ChatGPT those papers against everything on the internet, I mean the amount of plagiarism you would find.
Oh, dude, it's probably crazy. I mean, I'm sure that was always a problem. Like back in the day when you'd like physically comb through the books or something like that. I'm sure you lifted like entire paragraphs. You would change like a couple letters around. And then, the moment the internet came along, you're like, okay, I got to be a little more careful because there's these sources or these websites that you could put it in, and then it'll plug out whenever there's something that's been plagiarized. But now we're in the opposite again, where ChatGPT is just going to make it up for you, and you just, spruce that up just a small bit, and you're good to go.
Right, and I don't know how they're obviously going to have to come up with counter, like AI programs for writing papers, and I mean anything online, anything that you are not observing.
I am very jealous of your kids, dude, because like writing a paper in high school was my worst nightmare. And now it's just like you put in the prompt, and you could there's so many easy ways to just.
I don't even know if there's value in having the kids do it anymore, right? Because
it does seem like it's just going to be like you're not probably learning anywhere near as much as you used to. Turn podcasts on for your kids now. That's how they learn.
Well, my kid will be sitting at the table doing math homework, and he gets stuck at a problem, and he's just like. Alexa, what is this times this? And it just spits out the answer. And I'm just like, dude, you can't do that shit. I'm sorry. Like, you do that, and I will take your device away for a week. Like, you're not doing that. Like, you got to learn this stuff. I mean, yes, I'm sure there will be some kind of AI on your wrist at one day, and everybody will just be asking the AI every kind of question because why do I need to know it if I can just ask this thing it?
I am wondering because I do think there's just going to be like some level of real critical thinking that is just slowly being washed away. And I mean, you obviously see it kind of everywhere at this point, but I'm really curious just what the overall impact of that is going to ultimately be with this stuff. Because like no one thinks hard anymore. Now it's just kind of be like, well, what part of the internet do I go to get my answer?
Well, oddly enough, I just had on, and I'm not a Star Trek fan. I do like the original Star Treks to a certain degree. I love Wrath of Khan. But I had one of the Next Generation, which is the Patrick Stewart one. Yeah, Khan is it's the best one. And it's also that one and the Voyage Home, which is when they went back in time and they went back to Earth back in the day, Spock and all them. Also very funny. I think it's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 is worth a watch because it was on the other day and I was watching. And I'm like, fuck, this is actually really funny. Like they have some good comedic moments in it. But anyway, I was watching one of the movies of the other one, which is Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
And point being is that the one girl is from the past and she's with all these new guys. Well, she's in the future and she's just like, well, how much did this whole ship cost? And he was like, in the future, money is not conceptual anymore. Like, we don't work for wealth. And it's just like, oh, shit. Maybe that could really fucking happen, right? Because ultimately, if, like, AI is doing all the jobs, then there's no way for, 330 million people in America to make the same kind of money. So what happens? And then you think about universal basic income and all that kind of shit. And it's just like, well, that doesn't really work. So then what happens? And it's like if you really don't have a foundational base of capitalism where people can actually engage in the workforce because corporate America is going to replace people with
I've heard from a really
programs.
smart pink-haired chick at Starbucks that capitalism is actually the root of all evil, and that's why
I'm sure you did.
She's read Marx. Well, she didn't read Marx. She read the Wikipedia page about, Das Kapital, so she kind of knows what she's talking about. But yeah, I am curious, like, what the lack of critical thinking skills are going to end up being. Because, like, some of my friends, like, none of my close ones have a baby yet or anything like that, but it is, like, a recurring conversation where, like, so when your kid's born, do you get an iPad for them or what happens? Like, do you get them a Yo Gabba Gabba
You'll be
machine?
there one day.
I know. Yikes. Yeah, oh boy, it's coming in.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure because, look, the way that the world was built professionally is that, like, 75% of the jobs is doing the grunt shit work as a kid, fresh out of school, or people that didn't go to school that went right out of high school, but like doing the shit work, learning the ropes, then graduating to another level, and then graduating to another level, and then it's like the Peter principle, and then ultimately like
you rise the level of your incompetence.
Exactly, and the people that don't end up becoming the managers and the presidents and the vice presidents and CEOs and all that kind of shit. But if you have nobody in the lower ranks, right? Because it's all AI programs. Like, how do you hire just for the upper ranks? Like, it doesn't work. Like, you need the on-the-job experience. It's like a crazy concept to think about.
And that's how we know we're all.
And I just stopped the podcast.
There's nothing there. As we both are just like, damn, he's onto something.
Well, anyway, what I'm not onto, which you're onto, and in our last little segment here, which is what we were gonna. I'll still name the show this, but was Will had wrote me earlier because he was a fan of the animated show, correct?
The animated show from 15 years ago, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I only remember it because I think it also became a movie from M. Night Shyamalan.
It was atrocious.
And everybody hated it.
Everybody hated it.
But they loved
claims
the cartoon version.
I'll give my mom a small shout out here just because she says, oh, the movie wasn't that bad. No, Mom, you don't remember the movie. That's why you're thinking that. You're completely... So the show, and this is to give people like a very like basic background. The whole premise of the show is there is this fantasy world, basically. There are 4 groups of people in this fantasy world that it can all like control one of like the classic elements of fire, water, earth, and air.
Okay.
By using kung fu moves. So they fight each other with these kung fu moves, and one person will shoot out fire, one person will shoot out water, et cetera, et cetera.
So how does each attain that ability?
You're just born with it. It's like a cultural thing. So each one of the Earth people, they're basically like based on the Chinese. The Fire Nation are based on like the Japanese.
Okay.
Air nomads are like I forget the actual culture. I think it's like from the Paul or something, or like those famous like Western Chinese monks. But you're just kind of born with it. It's like something about spirituality. That's whatever. But then the main character is what's called the Avatar, where there's one person who's perpetually reincarnated, and he can bend all 4 elements, which no one else can do. Only
okay. So he's the emperor, right? He's like the main Sith Lord.
So he's like the main good guy, but he's exactly. So
yeah. But there's only one of them in this. There could be multiple Jedi, but there's usually only one Sith Lord.
So the premise with this one is the last Avatar, who's like this super powerful dude, just died. So his successor now is this young boy. You know,
I remember him from the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like this little 10-year-old kid. And the bad guys are the fire people because they're like, oh, the super powerful guy, he's dead. He's been replaced by there's like some young kid who's taken his place now. Now's the time if we want to make our move. This is when we make our move and we try to take control of the entire world. And so
because it's a fucking kid, we can house him.
We can house a kid, exactly. And so the story revolves around this world and this war that's kind of going on as the backdrop, as the Fire nation just is running a house on everybody else, and it was on Nickelodeon, but it had like this level of like humor. The animation was pretty good, and it would deal with these like really adult themes that like 12-year-old Will would just be like, did they just mention genocide in a show that came on right after SpongeBob SquarePants?
Right, okay, gotcha.
They use these words, or they would kill people off in the show. And but at the same time, there was this little light playfulness to it, but it was this really nice, like Star Wars-y, coming of age, like kind of adult show, but also like, it's for all ages. I'll say like a kid can still watch it and they'll be like, oh, look at the pretty colors and like people shooting air and there's the good guys and the bad guys. And then, like a teenager will go, oh, there's like more deep stuff to this. And if you're an adult, you'll watch it and go, oh, there's like actual stuff going on in the background here that I just cannot believe they're just okay to put this on a children's show. So
I didn't have any of that, but I mean, the only thing that I could say I had was somewhat relevant was like G.I. Joe and Transformers, super popular at the time. Nothing but gunfire and laser beams and just ill will had across, both people, right? Like bad guys really just fucking hated everybody.
Occasionally Optimus Prime would just drop like some knowledge, like you can do whatever you need to do.
Yes,
Optimus Prime, he spoke to me there.
But like Megatron and Cobra Commander were like, they were just fucking assholes, and they really just like didn't give a shit about anybody. So, which is kind of like you don't see any of that in any of these young cartoons anymore. It's just there's nothing.
There's no villain. It's always got to be like some redeemable dude. So speaking of, the whole show has this backdrop basically being based on like Eastern Asian cultures and like a whole amalgamation of it.
Okay.
So Netflix looks at this show and goes, oh my God, our diversity quota could be solved so well if we made a live action. If we just made a live action version of this show, what could go wrong? So there was clearly a fundamental misunderstanding about what made the original show so great. And I've only watched half it so far. There's another 4 episodes of this I got to go through still, which is bad.
Have fun with that.
I know, dude. And
it's a journey I will not join you on.
You don't need to, man. Just they hired child actors, and like they used child actors in in the animated version for like the voice acting, but it's really apparent they're just like, he looks like the guy from the show, and you're like, can he act? I said he looks like the guy from the show, and that's what we're gonna leave it.
That's it.
And so that's
good enough for me.
But the real issue is just like there was clearly some narcissism in the writer's room because the original creators of the show there's a whole bunch of things that came out last month. The original creators of the show were there in the beginning and then they left due to creative differences, which was like, for me, warning flag number one.
It's always a big mistake.
And like they like fired the warning bells by M. Night Shyamalan. Like, guys, I think we might have fucked up here. We just thought it'd be cool to make like a live action movie. We didn't know what he was doing. But they left the writer's room because like there's something going on in that writer's room. They don't want our ideas. And you watch the show, and they're like everything's shot out of order from the original show, and it's clear because. Yeah, I mean, the animated show was for children, but, like, this is going to be like Game of Thrones, okay? And you're just...
Oh, they're going big scale here.
Exactly. So it's exactly... Everything needs to be Game of Thrones. You're like, this is not Game of Thrones. You don't understand what that is, which means every character has to be, like, some sympathy. They're shooting it like Game of Thrones, so you'll get, like, multiple characters' perspectives, and they're trying to make them deeper than they are, but here's the thing.
Boring.
Like... the characters, the way they were originally written, like some characters in that show were just fucking evil. And now it's like, no, I'm not actually pure evil anymore and fun like I was in the animated
I'm
show.
just
No,
complex.
Now I'm contemplative and sad because I'm a girl in this society. Like, well, what does that mean that you're a girl in this society?
Right. Like, you
It means
can't just...
It means I'm a girl in society. And you're just like, you didn't think anything more into this, did you?
Yeah, the guy can't be just a fucking mean asshole, right?
No, his dad hit him when he was younger, and that's why
Yeah.
that's why I commit genocide now, because my dad hit me.
So,
Did you know beating your children was wrong? And you're like, that's the message of the day. Good job, adult writing team.
So now, these messages of the day, do they come from a linear story that began in the cartoon that went to the movie that went to the show? Or is this show now a reimagining
It's a
of the whole
reimagining.
thing?
It's a reimagining the whole thing.
Okay.
But they're like, now we're gonna tell it our way. So you know how they made this scene do this? Now it's like the way they shoot it is like, what if we told you that Ned Stark dies in episode 1, and then the rest of season 1 was a flashback? That'd
Okay.
be so cool. And you just go, that's an idea you had on day 1, and then if you thought about it for 3 seconds, you would go, no, is a horrible concept. But they did not think that far through, and that's how they're filming this fucking show, dude.
It's literally the Batman property, right? It's the Batman
literally
property.
is. Yeah.
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 It's just, okay, well, this one is done. We're just going to do it again. Well, there's no more residual value in that.
We have to show.
Let's
we
do
have
it
to
again.
show Uncle Ben dying again, but this time I'm going to do it a different way. And they
Right.
cross their arms like they think they're cool.
What's crazy to me is that I wouldn't think that this property, and again, my apologies to the gigantic Airbender fans that are out
I'm
there
right
in
here,
the world.
right
I mean,
here.
you know, there are probably some more diehards than you. I would put you
I'm
like
sure.
you're Lords of the Ring. Then I would feel then it would be Game of Thrones. I don't think
Yeah.
Airbender would be up in those two. Where
I like it a lot, but I'm not like going to get a tattoo of it anytime soon.
right,
if
and
that
there are
makes
some
sense.
people out there that have a lot of Airbender tattoos all over their back.
Yeah,
right?
oh yes, they do.
And they go, you know, and in Comic-Con, they get dressed up like Airbender and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't think that this property was big enough that you could do multiple iterations of it.
I don't know why they're doing it the same one, because the whole idea of it, dude, is like it's this gigantic world, and the avatar is like it's over thousands of there's been thousands of avatars, and it's just like this one world where you can control all 4 elements or something like that. Why not do it's like the Star Wars thing where you go, there's thousands of space history things you could do here. Why don't you just pick a different story to tell?
Sure.
And
Right.
no one thinks of that idea. They're like, no, you mean remake episode 4 is what you're saying, but this time with puppets. And you're like, that is the opposite of what I'm
Not
saying.
what I'm
here.
saying at all.
I'm saying, how about you leave that alone because everyone likes it, and you come up with like
A new story.
completely new characters and a story, maybe like 500 years in the past, so you still have like a lot of the same elements, but like, you know, different things are going on, and they just look at you with like their eyes squinting because they're just not seeing the forest for the trees at all. Like, you're saying I write the show in my way, and because I'm a great actor and wasn't a Nepo hire, it's going to be great. And like, no, please stop.
Done
What are you
it.
doing right now? Yeah. You're saying make this a $200 million show and have it entirely riding on the fact that the original one was really good and really beloved. So there's a lot of nostalgia, and that's the only reason people will watch it. That's what you're saying, right? And you just got to go, you son of a bitch.
We live in a fucking awful time. We really do. There are no original ideas. Nobody even wants to venture to try an original idea. And I gotta imagine that it's just because everything has gotten so big and everything is owned corporately that if it doesn't make money, why make it?
Yeah.
Right, which is why people like, and it's a friend of mine, he just went on a Kevin Smith cruise. Kevin
Smith cruise?
Yes, an entire fucking View Askew cruise, right? And it was
Is that
Kevin
exactly?
Smith.
I have to ask. That's exactly what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, Kevin
Okay,
Smith, Jason Mewes, I think Jason Lee was on it for a little bit. They had old-time bands, like Soul Asylum was there. And then it was just all fucking Silent Bob and Jay and Silent Bob fans and Mallrat fans, all on a goddamn cruise. And it was like, I can't believe this is going, but like, good for them, because if there's one thing Kevin Smith did, at least he did his own fucking property. I
will say, no one does that stuff anymore at all, to like a baffling degree.
Like, nobody even tries it. I think the only people that might try it nowadays are YouTubers. Right? Because YouTubers create their show, and if it becomes big, then they do merch, then they do fan meets, then they try to do more of the shit that hits, but like they're trying to come up with their own properties. And I think YouTubers are awful. But I'll give them, that at least they're trying to create some kind of original content. Not that it's thought-provoking, but at least it's goddamn original. You go to TV or you go to fucking movies, and I mean, to even extent, you go to like podcasts, like every sports podcast now is just a fucking old athlete that's retired that they're like, hey, why don't you do a podcast, you and your buddy, and you can tell stories about when you were, and it was like, oh shit, we just fucking watched this guy for fucking 15 years. I'm gonna hear his stories still. Like, oh, I'm done. I can't do it. But movies and TV, it's all the same shit.
It's just so safe, I think. I mean, there was something I was reading the other day where there was some movie that came out that flopped. I don't remember which one it was, because it feels like every other movie nowadays. But they're like, oh, well, this was an original property, and that's why this movie flopped, because it doesn't have the nostalgia bend. And part of me read that and got mad, and then the other part of me was going, damn it, he might be onto something, because this movie was an original property. What was it? I cannot remember. But just the movie didn't do well, and they're like, it was original, I guess.
Well,
so maybe that's why. I don't know.
I mean, I just watched the Sweeney movie, Sydney Sweeney, and I don't know. I Hate Everything About You, I think is what it is, or Anybody But You, or what. And it had a slow burn to it. So if you're not familiar with the movie, it's the guy that was in Top Gun Maverick, and he's been in like all these movies now. He's kind of
I think I know you're talking about.
Yeah, he's like the new Matthew McConaughey dude. And then it's Sydney Sweeney, who, I mean, we could just call her Tits at this point.
Yeah.
And the two of them,
single-handedly saving all of Hollywood right now.
Yeah, I mean, and she was on SNL, and like SNL, give it up. I am a SNL diehard. I can't even do the show anymore. The writing on it is so awful. But anyway, she was just on it this past weekend, and they just did nothing but like tit jokes for the entire fucking show. And it was like, okay, can we just do something other than that? But anyway, they did this movie, and it's just a rom-com. That's all it is. But it's been done 20 times before. There's nothing original about it, but it was like a slow burn, and there's no other content like that that's out there. So people kind of flocked to it. It did okay in the theaters. They re-released it for Valentine's Day. And you read these articles about it, and they're like, oh, sleeper hit, Anybody But You. And it's like, yeah, they found out an original idea. And I'm like, it's not original. It's just, it was the only one that was green-lit in the past, 10 years that was like that. And you have a blonde-haired girl with gigantic CD boobs. So, I mean, that's why it made it hit. But you compare it to everything else that comes out, and it's like, oh, my God, another Star Wars movie, another fucking Avatar, another this, another that.
It's just crazy, but they don't expand on it. It's like, I got to keep hearing about, every time Luke Skywalker takes a shit, it feels like, instead of, you have this universe that you paid for this universe, and instead, what are they doing? They're making Moana 2. It's just
Moana 2 and live action Moana, which we talked about last week.
Which is that is the perfect emblem. And Moana came out 7 years ago, dude, or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago at all. I watched it with my kids when they were kids.
I was going to say, it's perfectly emblematic, where you're just the last thing that was new that took off, well, clearly we got to either bleed this dry. Why would we try something new? What are we, stupid? No. We got to make Frozen 3 so we can make paper plates we can sell for every kid's birthday the next year.
And I think the point of Airbender combined with what these other movies and properties that we talked about is there just really, not only no original properties to make up, right? I mean, and then if you do, you get something like Rebel Moon, which is holy
oh, God. Well, that one was just...
just hot shit.
Rebel Moon was just, Rebel Moon, dude, was just literally when you take like ChatGPT and you just fuse my favorite things together, and then ChatGPT doesn't even try. It just is like, so Frodo was on Tatooine with his best friend Luke Skywalker, and all of a sudden Prince Zuko from Avatar showed up, and they fought each other till they realized they're best friends because they almost face Darth Jar Jar. And you're just like, what is happening?
And if you are not familiar with Rebel Moon, you can go back in the archives and listen to our podcast all about Rebel Moon.
We're going to be talking about it again, dude. I think the sequel's coming up soon or whatever.
They did greenlight a sequel.
I have to watch it.
Now, here is an old property that I'm actually interested in, and I think I'm going to go see it this weekend, but I am interested in Dune 2.
Same here. Oh, dude. Yeah, that one.
Right?
I've only heard amazing things. I love the first one.
And I hear it's the production value is good. It's it's pleasant to watch, right? And then it's the story that if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. I've read the Dune books. I know where it all goes.
I haven't. I never was a Dune book guy. And the original movies were terrible, but that last one was fucking solid, man.
I don't know how to, my opinion on Dune books, because my dad loves Dune. He absolutely adores those books. I think they're well written. I think the world is too weird for me. I don't know if that makes sense.
I got you.
But overall, the first movie was phenomenal, and I've only heard good things with the second one. So I'm going to drag somebody, probably my girlfriend who does not want to watch it. I'm going to drag her to the movies to watch it with me. So that's going to be.
Well, go ahead. She could sit there and just stick her hand in the sandworm popcorn thing.
Well, I'll have something else in that. I'll have something else in the sandworm popcorn thing. Yeah, we'll be a little busy. If you've not seen the sandworm popcorn bucket, I would highly suggest looking that up. I'm going to buy 2 of them for personal use.
Or better yet, you could just you could Google the SNL sandworm skit.
Is there a sandworm?
Yeah. They did a digital short. Short on it.
Really quick, before we go here tonight, did you see Shane Gillis hosted SNL?
Did we not talk about Shane Gillis?
I don't think it just happened. It just happened. I think we were sick.
I don't. Maybe we didn't talk about it last week, and I was trying to get to it, and we just didn't. But yes, I did watch it. It was borderline excellent. Excellent
for SNL. Like I watched all the bits, including the one that didn't air with the Limu Emu, which
fantastic.
That was an amazing bit.
Right.
For SNL, crushed it. I'm going to be honest.
For SNL, I thought it was a job well done, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, his opening monologue was tamer than I was expecting, but he also kind of called himself out on it where he's just going like, I don't have any clean material for this.
Yeah, I will admit, I thought the Down syndrome angle was just a weird way to go down.
I've heard that joke from him before, but I think he was just going for... I
have too. On his Instagram.
He had this great bit, though, about it, where he was just saying, like, for his monologue, how he was preparing for it. I listened to him talk on some podcast, and he's going, listen, I was sweating all week trying to think of what to say on this because, you're not just anyone going on SNL. You're not every, like, Joe Schmo. You're the guy who got fired off of it 5 years ago. Do I come back in like Norm swinging? So I asked Louis C.K., like, what should I do? Because he hosted SNL. He actually crushed it with his opening monologue. And he said, you're going to be in front of a lot of people you've never seen before. Do your tame stuff. Do jokes that work. Just do those up on the stage. And I went, but Louis, you did a whole new material when you went on SNL. Shouldn't I do something like that? He's like, yeah, but I'm also a way better fucking comedian than you, Shane. So shut the fuck up and do your good stuff.
Good for him. I miss Louis. I do.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was that much of a pervert, and I still have difficulty understanding why he got outcast just for jerking off.
I think it was just when he got caught. I think it was just that. I think it was just like literally the hottest part of the fire was when he was. Hey, by the way, Louis C.K. is kind of weird with what he gets off to.
Who was the one that ratted him out? It was another female comedian, right?
Well, so he did it to other female comedians, and what he did, for those who don't know, he essentially jerked off in front of some other female comedians like 20 years ago.
But he did it in an aggressive way where he shut the door and then stood in front of the door.
Well, they thought it was like I'm not going to defend it, but they thought it was a joke. Apparently, they came out after when that whole thing was going on. They're like, yeah, we're like not that weirded out by it. I mean, it was weird, but he was clearly just that was his thing. Was he liked doing that? And if the Louis C.K. thing was like the same, it was literally like a month after Harvey Weinstein. So everyone was still like their mouths were red with blood. Just
yeah, I mean, it was 7 years ago now, so it was
dude, that's crazy.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right, 2017, dude. Jeez Louise, that's upsetting. That was that long ago.
But and I'm not saying again, like you said, I'm not defending it. Just kind of a weird thing, like
it was. Dude, out of all like the what was it called, the Me Too movement stuff, his was definitely, when you read what actually happened, not the worst stuff that anyone did. Not remotely close. Still definitely fucking weird.
Weird. I would say weird, but not. But I don't know. You put him in the same category as Weinstein, and it's like, whoa.
That's just it's like because it was Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, and then like Louis C.K. And I really think that was what it was that it was just Bill Cosby was like America's dad, the comedian. And so I think that wires kind of got crossed in people's heads. Where like giant comedian that everyone really likes turns out to be a pervert. And Bill Cosby was genuinely a monster, which is a shame because I loved his comedy when I was younger.
Oh, I hated him, but neither here nor there. Continue.
He was just, we had like a tape we would listen to him all the time on. But he was just a genuine, absolute monster with what he was doing. Even though I guess that was really common in the 60s, which is bananas. I don't know.
I think at this point, I think we can accept that everything unimaginable sexually was just normal for the rich and the famous.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was no big thing, right? Mm-hmm. It was, girls got roofied, and there was all kinds of crazy cocaine sex parties, and it was, Hugh Hefner was living with like four 17-year-old girls.
Boys can't be boys anymore? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you can't get a little...
But talking about roofing women and physically raping women and hitting the lock button.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, and hitting the lock button underneath your desk so that the girl can't escape.
Good job, Matt Lauer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's not different, I guess, but it's kind of different than just kind of standing in front of a door and then whacking your meat.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to say not great.
Not great, but just kind of a weird fetish, I think. It's more of a fetish than anything else. Are you dying on us here?
You might throw it.
I think he's dying. So why don't we just punch out as Will dies on air? And I'll give you the wake info next week, and we'll wish him and his family a farewell. Well, not his family. I mean, it's just Will that's dying on us here. So
yeah, if I cough up a lung, it's not my fault.
All right. Well, with that, don't die in me. I hope you get better. Glad that we're both doing a little bit better here. Let me tune this down a little bit so that we can at least talk before we get out. And we will get together. So it was like 50 minutes of everything other than Airbender and the last 15.
It's called The Last Airbender for a reason. It's the last thing we talked about.
I can't hit the ding because that'll stop the outro music. But that's it. With that punchline, we're out. See you later.
Bam. Nailed it.